Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 42 of Rannoch out of Vanilla CS Boreal build. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Enjoy the view from the dam that we did last week, which is a tremendous bit of infrastructure for the city, isn't it? All the slipways here. Very cool. And it all goes down into the Strait of Rannoch, of course, isn't it? Very, very exciting indeed. However, new content has arrived for CS1 now. A couple of weeks ago. I guess it's all a bit confusing really because this is all recorded in advance in line with embargoes and other content and whatnot, but we did use the emerging downtowns in Thessia for a bit of a return build if you want to check that out. This week's episode, I would very much like to check out the countryside pack for Rannoch. So over here, we have a little bit of fertile land in a little bit of what is essentially no man's land. We won't be building any higher up into the mountains here, this is sort of the end. And I think just the idea of a little rural country town out here that is involved in some sort of agriculture, kind of away from, you know, this larger metropolitan sprawl of Rannoch up to the city centre, I think. I would like quite nicely over here. So indeed, that's what we'll get stuck into today. So I think this road here, I think it would be much better if this was a national road, I think. So what I mean by that is if it's some kind of like dual carriageway system. I think this will give it a much greater sense of distance, and then when we do come to junctions in and around the lumber plant, I just want to switch up to asymmetrical here, with the 2 lanes facing into the junction, of course, although that's a one-way entrance, isn't it? I guess we don't really need that, honestly, do we? Let's just go ahead and use the normal one for that, because I would like people to turn in here. Very nice, so now they have the dedicated turning lane. That's much better. I think that national road gives us a much more stronger sense of country, doesn't it, if you like, for lack of a better phrase. And in terms of where we'll come out here, we'll stick to our country national roads. Again, we'll use asymmetrical to come out of the junction. Let's just do a nice unit of 10. Change that around. And then, I guess just over here. I think we'll also build up a fair bit of forest between the town and the Jepson Forestry Company as well. Almost as like, you know, it's kind of like more of this, that way the forest industry will be sat right in the middle of this very dense sort of delta forest, which I think will really help that build as well. But this country road is going to head up and out. Now, where do we kind of want the town centre to be? Let's have a look at the terrain here as well. It's not flat, which is fine, I don't mind building on hills. I think it helps the build more than it does usually hurt it. And we've got fertile land here as well, do we? Very small amount of it. Okay, I think we'll send the road up this little valley then with the ore in it, and then we can branch out from that. So I'm just going to help the terrain where it is steepest. Just want these slopes to be a little bit less gnarly, I think is really what I'm after there. There we go, that should be perfect. And in terms of where this road is going to end, I actually wouldn't mind sending it up this valley for a potential eventual mounting resorts build once we get 81 tile projects happening, but that'd be a build for future egg to contemplate. For right now, we can just prepare that road to go through there. So essentially, to get to that town, you have to come through this new one, which we will name today. I'm actually going to use 2 districts here because I want to use both themes. I want to use the emerging downtowns in the city centre for those older style buildings, and then for the countryside residential around it, which is where we'll be using the countryside pack today. This will be a outer area of that named town, which is going to be named after one of our beautiful, most longest standing patrons, Mehmet Beriskin. And this is the town of Beriskin, and then this can be outer Beriskin. Yeah. I always support Mehmet, been around for years, my friend. Appreciate everything you do for the channel. And a town in Rannoch just for you, of course. So to start bringing in some sort of road structure and hierarchy here, I think I just want these very straight roads that pierce off of this main road, if you like, on a couple of different occasions. I think I'm also going to do the same slope action I want to here as well. So I just want to keep these very simple straight roads coming off, and then this is what a lot of our countryside residential will form off of. And that's if it even grows, actually. This should be quite an interesting experiment. So let's change Outer Beriskin to be countryside. And then I think we'll do a fair bit of dirt road for this. Almost like each plot here, each house is its own sort of mini farm or agriculture estate. So bring up some very simple dirt roads. Now, because we do have the actual functioning farm as well, we could bring in a farmhouse. Just like that, right? We'd actually include some farming assets with this too. I don't want to get too big. I'm not after like flour mills or anything out here. Just some very basic field patterns is all I really want. And we did actually unlock the larger field stuff, didn't we? So we have fruit fields. Or we have the large crop fields. I would like to align them up so we can have the field backing up onto the farm. But I don't think I want fruit. I think I actually do want genuine crops here. In terms of what crop we go for, that's another question, isn't it? Definitely not the greenhouse, of course. Do cornfields. Quite a nice view there, isn't it, actually, off to the city centre? I really like the sense of distance and scale that this map have given us. It feels like it's, I don't know, to a grander scale than Orchid Bay was for some reason, this map. I really am enjoying Hilly Strait if anyone else is also building along with it. It's a tremendously enjoyable map. We are getting a bit of terrain jump there, but we'll just ease that out. And then we'll change this up to corn as well, so it extends our field texture. Fantastic. And then let's see what happens if we go for a little bit of countryside here. And then on the corner. And then using the new decals, which we will use the line tool for. If you don't have the line tool, get it. And then if you're on console, my condolences. You will have to draw out the decals manually, I think. Which is a bit of a shame. Beyond this, I also want to upgrade the town road, which is where our town centre will be, into 4-lane road. If I can find the bloody thing. There it is. So of course we can place assets here. And pretty much just this stuff here. Don't want it to get too big. I want to make sure we keep it sensibly sized today. It's where we can scatter a whole bunch of our new assets. So let's come into medical. And we'll place our new medical centre, the countryside one. And there is a full video on the channel looking at all these assets in great detail if you want to see them. Oh, we're getting a build. Something's growing in. Isn't that wonderful? Let's go see. We've had 2 of them actually. 2 of them have come in. Okay. So definitely more farm associated, aren't they, I think? We'll let some different ones go in, I think. Don't want to go straight for the first one that arrives. Keep it scattered. I'm really not after density here. Lots of land and distance, lots of acreage, if you like, between each plot of home. Cool, so let's have that there. So let's also focus a little bit on what we did with the emerging downtown stuff. I want some of that to go in, not super dense again though. Green cities would also work very nicely with this countryside stuff as well. But I hope you'd agree, when you zone in this emerging downtown stuff, it gives you a much older commercial, which I think for a town like this is pretty much perfect, isn't it? Look at that. Yes, please. Such a better solution than vanilla. So these packs complement each other really well, actually, which is quite surprising considering the name, isn't it? You know, emerging downtowns and countryside work well hand in hand. Well, thanks to these lower level buildings, especially the commercial, it really lends itself to an older theme, doesn't it? I'm happy with that. I don't want everything just on one road, of course, so let's bring a little bit of frontage, where I would possibly also like to do a touch of car parking work. If we're going to do that, we actually want to make sure the ground is flat, otherwise the car parks won't place properly in vanilla. So let's make sure we do that. Trim back a touch of forest as well. And then let's do a tree-lined road. Let's do something a bit fancy. And that can go all the way down to the next one. And then let's place our schools on here. So let's grab our... Now they're very stylized, these buildings, aren't they? The countryside high school especially is of that nature, I think. I almost think I want you on a corner though. Just to what orientation though, that's the question, isn't it? I think probably that one. And that one's probably right there, isn't it? It definitely looks like an old English house, this. Looks like something straight out of the UK pack from Cities 2, doesn't it? But there we go. So we've got 332 high school capacity, which is a very specific number. That's got to be... No, if the budget is 100, that's a very, very specific number for it to get to. I'm not sure if that's actually referencing something. It could be. Either way, continued service assets. Let's get countryside fire department. And the mountain resort stuff also blends in really nicely with this as well, you know? I think it does. Again, but I think I want this more on a corner. We will do something with this road. I haven't just drawn it in for fun and games. I just want a bit more space around the back though. I don't want a lot of that terrain cutting if I can help it. And let's place in some car parks here. I'll also do a similar setup for this one. And then let's bring in our police station. So we'll have that there. Let's get a bit more of that zoning into. Let that grow in, and then we'll cut it up with more service assets. So let's also do the elementary school, which is, I guess, a little more, I suppose, Asian themed than a lot of the other assets in this park are. I think you can still pass it off the country, right? Don't hate it though. That's not bad. Having some stuff grow up here too. So I wouldn't advise getting it to too high a level, because then it starts to look like it is kind of condos and apartments, which I don't really want here. Don't mind the occasional sort of mixed-use living on the high street, if you like, with stuff like this. But otherwise, nothing much taller than that, I think. Already, isn't that such a vibe in CS1? Using the combined packs like that? Absolutely stunning. Really, really sweet. With the gradual climb down the hill there as well, right? You can see we're on a gradient. Very sweet. And you can't see this. Oh, you can, yeah. You can just about see the city centre from here as well, which I really like. Actually, that's a very cool little sort of design feature there, isn't it? I like that. So I think around here, now as fond as I am of these buildings especially, that is one of the best growables you can get, I think, for this old town stuff. What is that? Actually, what are you growing in as? You are a 4x4, of course. I also want to get the unique buildings in here too. So let's grab the... I think I'll save the countryside town hall for elsewhere. I want that to be part of a more sort of special design, I think. Or could we get it in here? I think it would be quite nice centralized maybe, wouldn't it? It does sit with the roads too. Let's go ahead and do that. Just going to move my country elementary up the road a little bit. And then if we can do this, I suppose it would be quite nice. It is, although I think I want it set back a little bit further. So we have it centered there on the road now, and then just create a little bit of a box. It is very slightly recessed with the terrain, which was not intended. But I think we'll make that work, because I think the addition of that centralized clock tower within the town centre itself is quite nice, isn't it? Let's also get the other neat buildings as well. I want the countryside public market, absolutely, yes please. And then how about an old Yi here general store? Sounds like a lot of fun, doesn't it? How about we get you... And you've got kind of really nice corner asset vibe, haven't you? How about we have the rural market on that corner there? Very nice indeed. Don't hate that at all. And I think I just want to girth out the market centre a little bit, so I'm going to run some commercial down the back roads, I think. And this way it'll just kind of help that town centre frame feel a bit more centred, I think, if the town itself is a bit wider. Then we also have the public library too, which I would also like to include. In an effort that it's going to help some of these houses grow over here. I don't really want to have to place services out here for them to grow. Same over here as well. Let's also do some new parks. Let's do tourism parks, feel be quite nice. Let's get some birch ones growing. I must wonder if I can come up with an excuse here to get some more parks in. And then I think that's going to help all the residentials around here grow up. Might just move the countryside high school for a brief second. I'm beginning to wonder if I can centralize one of the ponds in here. Factor this into the road frame. It won't go bang on square, but we can do something to help with that. Okay, so I'm much happier with that structure. I think the sightline prep there of a country hall with the pond should end up working out quite nicely. And that also gives park assets over here, which should help a lot of these buildings begin to grow up as well. Get the high school back in the corner. Yes, you are no longer. Make sure that they are in their correct districts. Also grab some smaller parks here too. We could do one of these little ones in the corner. Next to the library, little pitch. It's quite nice, isn't it? How are we doing for all our older commercial through this way? Isn't this stuff nice here? We got superposition systems. Token technologies, some new companies in Cities 1. The first time in what feels like many years. Get these corner buildings secured too with nice historical in. Fantastic. There we go. So now we have our first countryside home in a position I actually want it to be. Surprised you guys aren't going over here yet. You're right near parks and services. We've done all three. Maybe they'll come in over time. Not sure why you guys go in there. Definitely got a bit more of a farm look with that one, haven't we? So I'm going to historical that one. And then I guess I'll wait for that one to level up as well, actually. So let's turn our attention then toward this one. So we want to come into the decals that we got with this pack. Content creator pack, filter for countryside. And then we want to grab the decal of whichever one it is on the back of this building, which is the sort of brown horizontal one, isn't it? So I would say that one. Yep, field plowed. With the line tool and our trusty fence mode, we can line these up. Now, if you don't have Move It to piece them all together, you will get some maybe small gaps in the middle of them. You don't have Move It just to make everything perfectly in line. You can just go ahead and place more decals on top to fill the more obvious gaps, right? Because when they're that obvious, you will sort of notice them. So let's repeat this pattern out of the back of the house for a little bit. And then if you're able to excuse some like decal flickering where they are overlapping, we can now begin to create these really authentic little mini fields. Now you can go as big as you want with these, of course. You can put it to the size of an actual Industries DLC field, or you can make it smaller, whatever you want to do with it. But just these little collection of props gives you a whole different way to begin thinking about ways of detailing up residential, especially in a quite distinct countryside theme. I'm going to run some of these little tracks down here too. So these are just simple asphalt tracks. I'm going to send them down to the road. I'll have that there to make sure I have historicalized this house. I do not want it to change after doing all of this. There's also new fences here as well if you want. They're not network fencing, they are prop fencing, but new fencing nonetheless. They're going to have this little windmill out the back here as well. And then perhaps a little work yard just next to the field. There's some sheds. Get these in here too. I placed that the wrong way around. I have indeed. Make sure we spin that one around too. And then let's grab ourselves one of these little covers here, right? And we can do some fuel tank detailing, which is very exciting. And maybe a few of these crates under here as well, right? And I don't put a beehive in. We'll do some beehive detailing elsewhere. Right. So I'm happy with that. And then, again, you could use the new fencing. I'm going to use network fencing because this is superior, much easier to draw in without movement. And then I just want to run this fence pretty much around the perimeter that comes with our little mock fields here. And then send that down there. And then a few trees. Being mindful, of course, of fertile land if you are using real farms as well. Don't want to diminish too much away from the other fertile land. And then let's get some hedges in here as well. Sort of a bit of a actual hedgerow sheltering the farm. And then we can do maybe a little bit of long grass behind here. The general overgrown farm vibes, right? And then there was even a little dirt patch decal as well, which is great for little work yards like this, you know. Actually pretty game changing because you can use this almost as like a filler, like a dirt filler. I'll tell you where I want to use this. So yeah, right, for spaces like this, right, in the port, you can spam down this new dirt patch decal now and remove the green, which is very powerful for a build. So that's amazing. That's really cool. We've also got some asphalt ones here now as well, which I'm sure we can use in certain situations, but another example of where countryside will come in helpful. Essentially, it's a very, and I mean very, poor man's surface painter, but it is there. So you can enjoy it if you like. Wonderful, but when we're all said and done, and we're happy with the dirt textures and whatnot, we're left with, I think, hopefully you'll agree, some pretty interesting sort of farmland options, and we can grow a few of these out across the build, especially as we move into the detail and time-lapse today. These guys here, unfortunately, have grown too big and too modern, so let's just filter out some assets from our main street here that we're not a fan of. Also toying with the idea of actually having some of the residential stuff mixed in here as well, because it does, I think, work for that older vibe I think I'm trying to attempt to go for here. So I think also a bit of the Mountain Lodge stuff might work nicely around here. And we could have the Hotel Blue Peak in and around the town centre, which I think would be quite tasty. I don't mind that there at all. It's not going to be too intrusive. Now, of course, we could also go down the routes of hotels buildings as well, for which the Wooden Lodge is more likely to lend itself to what I'm after here. How do we feel about it though? I imagine it's quite a... There's a bit of a contrast, isn't it? I think that's probably more suited to being down that road when we get onto the actual mountaintops. I have the occasional smaller mountain village asset here, but I think that's a little bit too dominant and style-wise, I think, for a smaller town centre like this. A roadside motel, though, I absolutely would not be averse to having this here. And what do you want? You want to be around the town centre, don't you? That's alright. Can we actually squeeze it in there? Looks like we can. We're going to delete those three then. I think that's going to be a happy little spot for it there, isn't it? Definitely fits in with the theme around it too, doesn't it? Yeah, older, more run-down motel that's not had any work done on it in years. Right in the town centre there. I'm happy with that. And from a gameplay perspective, it should keep fairly profitable. Only 60%. I guess you want more office space around here, don't you? Which we definitely will not be having more office space. So I love these assets, aren't they just great? They're so nice. So they're so simple too. Here's the Palaven. Very exciting. Well, so either way, I feel that does feel like a good place for a detail in time-lapse. I want to wrap up the rest of the town centre with assets. Bring that big dense forest back to this side as well, so we're really kind of isolating the lumber plant out on its own. Away from the town over there too. And possibly have a look at some bus action. In terms of a shuttle bus out here, the nearest bus hub is going to be Darshland Plaza. Now, how would we get one to you? I would like a bus. Then again, maybe this is the closer town to run the bus hub from. Let's do... We never set up the airport bus building, did we? So I think the quickest route for it to get back to Darshland Plaza is they would get on the highway and then come off here, wouldn't they? And then come all the way down. I feel like it's probably a better idea then, just to allow it to converge with this metro and monorail. I think might be a nicer idea. Then we can actually use the roundabout to turn it around. Let's do that then. We're going to add a bus stop here near the botanical gardens. And then this can run out. I suppose I wouldn't mind actually having it stop outside the forestry plant as well. So let's actually downgrade these to normal roads. Right, stop here for the workers, and then it can come right into the town centre. Stop pretty much by the parks, and then again by the town hall, and then just mirror your stops on the way back through. You know, actually, yeah, you can stop there, and then let's move the stop to outside the botanical garden, and then it can use that as its sort of loop there, if you like. It should be coming out of the bus over here. It is indeed. Let's change the line before we do it. Want it to be quite a small one. I think we're going to go for minibus. I can't imagine it'll be very busy. And then we'll just have a little white minibus that shuttles people back into the outer lying town, essentially from what has become a little transport hub around here, with the double line metro. Bear in mind there's 2 metro lines meeting here. What's it called? Trolleybus, the actual bus, and then of course the tram is also just a few stops down the road as well. So pretty well interconnected with public transport if they want to get back from the rural town. So that should be quite nice. But either way, let's move into some detailing, which I'm sure will be a tremendous amount of fun. But we'll get in, settle in Bariskan into its rural setting, and then we'll be right back. Alright guys, let's have a little analysis, shall we, of our country views. I have brought the bus stops into the forestry depot. They were causing a ton of traffic by stopping here on these roads. So I ended up bringing them in. They're stopping here. You can see where they're waiting either side of the road to make it back to Beriscan, which is very nice. And then I've also established some further road connections too. There's one here now. There's a little bit of a national road country corner. I really do enjoy playing with the whole national road vibes. And then just some very simple slip ramps in around the terrain linking up with the split highway. It's likely this side especially is going to change quite significantly as 81 tiles opens up and we allow the road hierarchy to flow into these spaces over here. Probably eventually linking up with this road structure, but that is a little whiles away yet. But people are using it to get off here, which isn't too bad at all. So you just different ways to get back into on and off the highway, various different sides, not too busy. This comes across an American Trust Bridge over the river, which is a little bit shallow at the minute. I'm banking on this being a little bit more, I think sort of more dramatic and free-flowing once we get into 81 tiles and we can put it up on the hill and let it pool and deepen a little bit more. It's just a little bit shallow and unimpressive here, I think, at the minute. But it is what it is with the water outlet. We'll eventually get it on top of the hill. And then the whole town has turned out really uniquely. I've tried to blend in different spaces here with Industries DLC. You can see there's barns around the back of these manually drawn in fields, workers' barracks. Using the overgrown texture at places as well, you know, seeing the Industries DLC stuff drive through the area, doesn't that make an enormous difference? Goodness me. I love that little table there, right? Isn't that perfect? Sit down after a day's work across your plowed field and see the buildings way over in the distance there. It's a nice little sightline, that one. Quite happy with that, has to be said. And then blended in the farms through here. There's fruit fields around this side. Some chopped wood, some beehives, which you think would make sense around fruit orchards, right? And then some pathway cutting through the middle of them as well. Into some hedgerow action, actually. Kind of guide you back toward the town centre over here. There's another field over this side. I'll give you kind of a general perspective of the field work without losing the decals if I can, because they are level of detail sensitive. So there you go, that's the finished construction there, if you can take that as the sample. And then there's lots of these little yards being developed. I've tried to do my best today just to show off the decals and the variety of stuff that comes with the countryside pack. And you get a good sense of the houses here as well, don't you? So I hope it's been at least inspiring, if not somewhat helpful, just to kind of see the assets. You don't always have to draw out fields around them. You know, sometimes they are just nice out on their own, staggered using the smaller footprints. So I'm pretty happy with them. I like how it turned out. A general expanded green belt and park space here in around the town centre with a playground next to the school. Lots of bush lining and landscaping in the middle of the town centre, which has a really nice viewpoint with this bridge and the road, of course. Very tasty. And then pathwork in between those, extended these new tiny little fences off of the side of the town hall as well, which I thought was quite fancy. Again, better to use Move It really with these prop fences to get the real fine alignment. It's quite a bit more tricky and sort of quality of life vanilla, if you want to call that mod set, sort of that idea of sort of play set anyway, if you want to take that word for it. And then we have the public market on the corner, turned out really nicely, lots of people coming and going from there. And then there's all this, which is great. A little bit of sort of town centre car parking, a different mix of matches. Oh, I've left some modern stuff in actually. There's a few more just at the back there as well. But I think they're still quite welcome. I think we've managed to hit the much older town here. Maybe some more modern apartments perhaps, as people have come in to try and sort of do up the area. You know, this was kind of what it was like when it was built. And now with people gaining money from the city and living out here, they're able to kind of build some perhaps more modern apartment blocks over this way too. So a really cool town centre. Hotels, emerging downtowns has worked really nicely actually in tandem with countryside. And then a bit more residential over here as well, which again, these guys also have a great view from their balcony across the sort of ploughed fields here. And a view to the skyline over there too, in the very far distant township. But I really like it. It's a really cute small town. It feels quite dense and compact. There's some nice kind of natural alleyways I've actually developed around here as well with the emerging downtown stuff, which I always like. More field work here, more prop yards with a bit of overgrowth, fuel tanks, etc. you do have to ignore the twitching. It is what it is with decals. It's just much better in CS2 with surfaces, I feel. But and then blending in more Industries DLC bands in here as well with hay bales. Same over here again too with the other type of hay stack, I suppose you would call that, wouldn't you? With a very ploughed field. And another little worker's yard down here as well. Well, that spills into the fire station detailing, which because it didn't really look like a house, I kind of wanted to make this bit a bit more like perhaps a farm utility yard. Maybe these trucks are used for kind of distributing local produce around to the city centre, and they just kind of store and operate and maintain here. So a bit of the natural disasters chain link fencing with a hedgerow and an airport apron. I think it just helps the fire station settle in as obviously not a house, but some kind of farm admin or industry, and then use the plazas and promenades trucks, which are technically food trucks, which is fine. Just don't look too closely. To kind of help the services run. But a really fun little rural town using both of the DLCs actually, but we certainly will spend some time, I think, with emerging downtowns in the emerging downtown. We'll do some renovation projects closer to the city centre, I think. Massive shout out to the patrons that support these videos, with a roll call to our golden eggs, Andrew Perez, Bad Wolfer, Casino, Louis Adlam, Phoenix MD, and Wesley Kipp. If you want to get involved in that instant gaming, you can also pick these DLCs up there as well for a good price that helps support the channel, alongside Patreon, should you wish to get a little bit more egg in your life. Let me know what you think of these new packs. Very happy to see CS1, of course, receive more content. If you haven't seen the showcase, go ahead and check that out. It'll be probably a couple of weeks ago now, maybe 1.5 weeks ago by the time this video hits YouTube. But yeah, either way, check it out. Let me know what you think below. But otherwise, let's thank you all so much for watching. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.